All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I appreciate everyone's time. Just to make sure we're all in the right session, you know what's happening. This review of the current status of the security industry and some of the products from Honeywell and VIcom's partnership with us. So just to make sure everybody's in the right session, if you will. My name is Chris Lay. I'm the strategic account manager for the Southeastern United States. With me is Brendan McDaniel, who's the local account manager who handles the day-to-day relationship with VIcom. So I'd like to say thank you to those folks as well. We appreciate your time and ability to have us here and do this and exposure to your customers. And so, ergo, your customers are our customers. We truly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. We know that some of you have taken the whole day to be here, so we'll make good use of the time. I think we've got, 30 minutes? You got a 30-minute block? That sound right? A 30-minute block? Okay. What we wanted to do, I'm not going to spend a lot of time PowerPointing you to death. A lot of the times you get into these sessions and people are very quick to go through all the things that make them wonderful. I know what we do. I want to share just a little bit of that with you, but I really would like to kind of share with you some of the things that we're seeing, trends in the security industry, consolidations, and massive changes that are actually underway right now. One of the really nice things is that VIcom is a very IT-centric company. Most of you probably work with them in that capacity. So from our chair, that partnership really means a lot to us because that is what our end users are demanding. And I've got a lot of slides here that will speak directly to that and the changes that are taking place within security. So just to give you a quick overview, most people know Honeywell because you have a thermostat in your house. How many people have a Honeywell thermostat on their wall? Yeah, just about everybody. How many people have a Honeywell security system? I don't care if it says ADT or whatever it says on it. It's Honeywell. There you go. Everybody has got the Honeywell security system in your house. We got about a 75% market share in that specific space alone. The commercial space, we're also extremely competitive, but it's a bit more fragmented. Been a lot of consolidation on the intrusion side of the house over the last several years. So. You can see from the numbers, really large Fortune 100 company. We're about just almost $37 billion in total sales. And you can see here from all the Fortune magazine stuff and the most admired companies. I think all that stuff is really great, but really what it speaks to is the ability to hold us accountable. And that really is going to be one of my main points here very shortly when we talk about end users. Next slide. So let's just give you an idea of some of the markets that we play in just because you say, well, gosh, you're going to talk about all these wonderful integrated systems and all that stuff, but I'm really not that big of a business or an entity. I only have 2 doors. Why do I need something like that? Well, that's the nice thing. We're entry level to enterprise. We don't have just one component. We have lots of different components. So we go from very, very small to very, very large. We cover a big swath of the security space. Quite frankly, we have something just about to fit everybody. Next slide. So this is where things are a little different. Have you folks probably ever been on an airplane before? Something you might not know about Honeywell? World's largest manufacturer of cockpit instrumentation. If you get on a aircraft, chances are that has got at least one dial or gauge or meter that it comes from Honeywell. A lot of people don't know that. We're all known by our thermostats and stuff, right? Well, we start talking about the integrated space. On a site scale, if you will, some of these components, people require multiple things to come together. You want all this stuff to work. So when you look at our portfolio and what we offer, what it comes to is we have video, access, intrusion, and even fire in some instances that you can bring in, put those pieces together, and then integrate them to third-party data sets within your organization. Now, I just said a whole bunch of stuff. That sounded like a good infomercial, right? What I said was you have a whole bunch of stuff and a whole bunch of data from places like human resources and accounts receivable and all these different places. You want to bring that information into your security department so you can track stuff and people and not have to duplicate a bunch of entry. That sounds like a pretty good deal, right? Well, that's where it begins to get just a little bit sticky. Go ahead, next slide. So I'm going to jump right in and talk about a few things that I see happening in my travels throughout the East Coast, frankly. These are changes that, as you begin sort of analyzing what your needs are, they change on almost a monthly basis. I say that because that's about how long it seems like it takes to get some new product released to market. If you look at what's out there, people have really neat stuff, but what they don't have is the ability to install it, service it adequately, if you will, and then maintain it over the long term. So here's what I'm seeing from end user perspectives. Increasingly complex, and people want true integration. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, I want one piece of software to do my video, my access, and my intrusion. Why do I need 3 disparate packages or 4 disparate packages to try to put all this stuff together, and then I call a company to come out and try to put it in and make it all work and speak to each other? If you have 3 or 4 different brands of video access and intrusion and even fire, you try to put that stuff in and then make it speak, what happens? Doesn't work, does it? Right? We've tried this, we do it. We have to go out, we have to figure out all the time what stuff actually works together. Well, the industry is not real transparent about that. So we're gonna speak about that in just a second, because I think that is exactly where we come to market in a lot different capacity than just about every other manufacturer. Data source sharing, I just mentioned human resources a little while ago. What are some other places that you would want to bring data from? How about IT? How about bringing over your usernames and passwords from Windows so that when you sit down at a terminal to use your access control system or your video system, when you log on to a PC, just like you do every morning, it brings all your rights and privileges with it because it's integrated with Microsoft. We're a Microsoft Gold partner. We want to reach out and get those usernames and passwords so that I have only one single logon and it follows your roaming profile. Makes good sense, doesn't it? That's just one less thing that you have to keep up with. No more separate passwords. ROI pressure. Seeing this a lot lately. Well, that's great. It opens the door, but what else does it do? Anybody ever seen this term before? Return on investment? Right? If you're writing a check, someone is going to ask you what you got for your money. I don't care if you're in furniture, or if you're in pharmaceuticals, or you're in energy, or you're in private business of whatever variety. Someone, when you write a check, is going to ask you what the ROI was off that, and you need to be able to answer that question. There's a lot of scrutiny, especially over the last couple of years out of corporations, especially if you're public, and they want to know what you got for your money. You need to be able to explain that. So you need to have systems in place that checks the video access and intrusion, and finds out what you got for your money. You need to be able to report that up. Virtualization. Anybody ever heard of virtualization? Surely there's some data. Okay, great. So VMware. Who's heard of that product before? Certainly. Okay, fantastic. Why would you not? That's really the only question left. Pick one product and go with it, whatever it's going to be. But video access intrusion, you'll hear me say it over and over again. Being able to virtualize that instead of putting it on hardware every single day, being able to host 2 or 3 or 4 NVRs on a single server. That's why you hire IT companies to do this stuff now. That's why IT companies are actually leading the charge when it comes to advanced security. Because this is the stuff that end users are demanding. We're going to talk about the dealer perspective here in a minute. Mobile apps. Everybody wants it on the go. How many people have an iPhone? How many people don't have an iPhone? How many people still have a smartphone of some variety? That's everybody, right? I'm asking a silly question, why? Because it's the way you go and you do stuff every single day. How many people live on their phone? God, just can't get rid of it. So that's what I need, is another app to give me something more to look at. But here's the reality. How many companies would say that right now you're doing more with less people? How many people have lost headcount and we just didn't replace it? We didn't let anybody go, but we didn't replace them either. Once they went away, boom, done. Right. So I think we would all agree that unfortunately this becomes one of these necessary evils. How can I have more information pushed to me in a timely manner? Well, there it is, mobile apps. So we have plenty of those to go around, but more and more end users are demanding increasingly complex mobile apps. It has gotten to the point here in our latest release where our web interface is almost a duplicate version of our main software copy. Why? People want full-featured functionality. It's what you come to expect. The expectation levels of what is possible here is what has become more of a standard than not. Industry-specific regulatory reporting. How How many people are forced to report on what they do with their system? Maybe you're in the energy vertical. Okay, great. Especially if you're in the public sector, you're going to do this. But I guarantee you, someone's asking you to report out. They want more and more and more information. How many people feel like they spend most of their time digging through their systems just trying to generate reports, and that might consume half their day? Or how many people employ somebody that's half their day? There you go, right? So we're spending a ton of time on that if we can solve that problem. So this is what you're seeing. People are saying, I need industry-specific reporting, and I need to be able to customize that for my particular vertical. Self-sufficiency is growing. End users are increasingly taking things into their own hands. One of the things that we offer, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute, is factory training. Yes, you too can go off to the factory, get the training, get the technical backup. We actually have software service agreements that allow you to call in as the end user. You do not have to go through and wait and wait and wait for trucks to roll. And of course, you're saying to yourself, gosh, VIcom's sitting in the room, what are you doing? We're saying that you can sidestep. No, that's not true at all, because those SSAs are sold to you by the dealer. It does not include hardware, it does not include cable pulling, none of that stuff. It is, I forgot how to run this particular report, or you know what, I don't know what the status of this panel is. Let me make a quick call and confirm this before I call the guys to come out and take a look at this and work on it. Because maybe it's just something small we forgot. Or hey, I need to add a new badge, I've forgotten how to do it, it's been a year since I last did it. Well, instead of waiting, let me pick up the phone. That's a big deal. That is a very big deal. Especially if you've ever been frustrated waiting for things to get done, both in and out of house. IT-specific requirements. How many people's, first off, how many people are IT professionals in here? Okay, most of you, very good. All right, so how many people would say that security, where it was not necessarily their primary function, let's say a year to 2 years ago, that now it has crept in there and has become a significant percentage, or you see it becoming a significant percentage of your dedicated time? You can't avoid it, can you? It's absolutely impossible. How do you talk about things like virtualization and mobile apps and data source sharing? How do you talk about that without involving IT? All right, so here's another question for you. How many people have had that done and then you get called in the bottom of the 7th inning as the relief pitcher? Yeah, like that one, didn't you? That was fun. It's not good. You can't do it in this day and age. So I would say in that specific moment, that's where we start to see the dealer requirements really ratcheting up, and I'm going to speak to that again here in a minute. Changing dealers quickly. We see this a lot. Folks are coming on board, they're trying them out, they're falling down and discarding and going to the next. And we're going to talk about that here. There is a cost to doing that, though. It is a culture integration. Once you begin working with somebody, how easy is it to, quote unquote, terminate that relationship? It's not real easy, right? Divorces are not cheap. We know this. It's the way it goes. From the dealer side, classic alarm dealers are struggling. They absolutely are. They're the bread and butter of our intrusion business, love them to death, absolutely, no question. But when it comes to integrated systems, fantastic partner. Data is their primary source. That's what they do. That's who's leading the charge anymore to get these things done. IT savvy is winning. It's as simple as that. Take a look at this room. Everybody virtually raised their hand and said they're an IT professional. If that's the case, don't you want to work with an IT company? It sounds like a little bit of an infomercial. I'm just speaking directly from experience, and I'm telling you, if you have a security nightmare that has happened to you, you begin to understand very quickly the value statement of starting a project and managing it all the way through with your involvement and not going around the IT department. Not all dealers share this compatibility. Not all of them can do it. Cost to serve end users is increasing. Without saying, just think of it in your own mind, how many of you would classify yourselves as high maintenance? We like lots of meetings. Well, Randy, we know. How many people like to have a lot of meetings? How many times do you like to have people come out and double check on you? How many people like to have a truck show up immediately? How many people believe that they should be that provider's first source, first thing in the morning? I got a call, I have 3 to choose from, you better be here on my doorstep first, right? Everybody feels that, though. That comes with a cost inherent. If you're cost shopping, beware of the lowest cost in the room. That is not necessarily and usually not the best choice anymore. There is a period of time when things really got cost conscious and everything was going to that, I think we all pretty much figured out low bid is not necessarily your best friend, but everybody pretty much agree with that. Skill erosion through having too many manufacturer commitments. If I have 17 different access control products, how can I possibly be that knowledgeable on one? These should be alarm bells when you're beginning to vet out and send bids and do your selections for partnering up on your security products. If you have too many of those in your head, there's no possible way you can meet the commitments of all of them. How are you going to service me long term? Questions you should begin asking. Many of the classic companies struggle with software programming. We do a great job. I can get the hardware stuff in. I can run a cable. I can use an output. I can do all kinds of neat little stuff, hang panels on the wall and put my little level on it, make sure it's nice. But then all of a sudden I got to load that software. Lots of companies are struggling with software installs. They're not doing real well. Cost to train and retain technicians. How many people, even within your own departments, would you agree that's probably the case? It's getting very, very difficult to attract and maintain good talent. Well, be careful, because what typically happens is you get your favorite guy and then all of a sudden, boom, he's not there. What does a company look like as a whole that you're measuring, right? If your favorite guy takes off, you need to have a backup plan, and you don't really, and you should not have to change partners just to make sure that you're taken care of. Contingency planning. And then lastly, I would say I'm seeing a lot of this too. It's difficult to set one apart from the next. Usually when you ask folks, when you talk to a dealer and they say, well, what makes your business better than others? First thing that comes out of someone's mouth is typically what? Service. Oh, our service. It's fantastic. Now I have a stack of letters right here that says how fantastic I am. And you open your drawer and you throw those right in there along with the other letters from all the other companies that you saw, right? You have to look at the identity of the company, look at what they can do for you, look at the multitude of factors that they bring to the plate. I'm giving you some measuring sticks here because when you start to put these projects out and you start looking at who you're going to partner with on them, if everybody comes through the door as cookie cutter, that's not a great thing. You need to be backwards vetting through some of these other items that I threw up there, and then a couple more we'll get to. Any questions on this at all? Okay. All right, so I'm showing you this slide for a reason. This is our End Users Advisory Council. We just had a meeting in Florida this past May. Coming up, we will be going to Nashville. So what this is, ProWatch, which is our top shelf access control product, we actually have an End Users Advisory Council. These folks all work for very, very large companies, airports, pharmaceuticals, energy, banking. This meeting is held once a year, okay? We pay for it. All you do is cover the cost of your travel. If you're a ProWatch end user, if you have 2 doors or you have 2,000, you are welcome. It makes no difference to us. We get hundreds of people come. But this is our steering committee. How many times you bought something and you said, gosh, I wish I had control of where this product went. Why doesn't it do what I want it to do? And I wish I could just do this to make my life better. Anybody said that before? Every single day, right? On almost everything you touch. Well, this is our steering committee. So what we do is we have our engineering staff and our product managers go on stage as part of the next to last session each year, and we take down a list of suggested enhancements to ProWatch. And then we go through and we check off in that year's time between there and the next meeting as many as we possibly can. Doesn't it sound like that's a pretty good idea for just about any company to do? Don't we all know that most of them don't do it? This committee is very unique in the security space. You will not find, I don't believe, and we haven't found one yet. We found some chat rooms and some unofficial stuff. But Rudy Walter, who is the head of security for Citibank Global, is actually the sitting president of the board. And he pulls together what we call a fireside chat. We gave it a name. They came up with it. And what they do is they pull that call together on once a quarter basis. And again, as a user, even if you can't make it to the meeting, wherever it is, you can attend that call and voice your concerns or voice your opinions or ask your questions or just listen to people. But what it does is it connects you with other users. Why am I showing you this stuff? This is accountability. How many people think that that's even halfway important? There you go. Very simple. again, this is something very unique to us, and we're actually quite proud of it and the participation of this board. Next. So here we go. This one in particular, HIS Forum in 2015, and you can see it's May 12th to the 15th at the Opryland Hotel right there outside of Nashville. It promises to be a real good time. We do meals and so forth there. They'll probably do a river cruise or something like that. There's a lot of different options there. But Rudy and his bunch generally put the agendas together for that. If you want to go, get with Kenny and the boys and they can get you the details on how all that stuff works. Next. Certification processes. I'm not going to go through every last bit of this. You can see exactly what it is. Why is this important to you? Do you recognize any of these components right here? You probably do, right? Why is that important? Because this is where you're installing our software. You want this stuff to work. You need advanced options. So this is what we're actually grading our dealers on now. Does that seem strange to grade dealers in the security industry on this? Shouldn't I be asking about how many wires they pulled lately or how many motion detectors they hung up this morning? No. Those folks are not going to make the grade. So it's a very, very select cut. To be honest, this represents a really nice set of scaled, accountable items that we check people off on a rolling basis. The main thing you want to do is look at what type of environment you have, and if there's something on here that you are operating with that you don't see, that you want, and you own the product, or you want to own the product, get involved with the end user council. I strongly encourage you to do that. That's your way of holding us accountable. Guess who made this list? Probably only need one guess. End users group. That's who came up with this list. We did not come up with this list. We took the notes, we compiled, consolidated, and this is a vetting sheet. Next slide. So ProWatch, and as we mentioned, video access and intrusion, there's a little bit more in there. We have our access management, intrusion management, compliance reporting is built in. That is a custom written reporting management program that we have. Anybody heard of NERC before? Nuclear Energy Regulatory Commission? You probably have, right? So if you're in the energy sector, they're all over you. We actually built this to help First Energy up out of Ohio. We actually built this to help them survive a NERC audit. They had been getting fined millions of dollars each year because we can't find this, we can't find that. Last year was the first year they had passed 0 fines. 0 fines. Why? Because we were accessing multiple different databases. Some of them had been archived in off-site locations. We were able to go through and pull very specific information. There is no one way to survive a NERC audit. This is just a way that we help them go through. There's a rough set of guidelines, and it came off with flying colors and saved them millions of dollars. Visitor management, video management being integrated in, that's recorders, cameras, and the actual VMS that integrates in with ProWatch and receives the alarms. To me, though, these top ones sort of represent the unknown items where customization wins. And that's really what I think, because almost to a product, you can go through and someone says, yeah, my video looks great. How many camera manufacturers are there? Right? Tons of camera manufacturers. They're widgets, right? But what are you doing with that data? Who is it going to? How are you parsing that? Where are you sending it? The ability to customize how it's delivered makes a gigantic difference, right? We've moved into problem-solving mode and out of just checking the box and saying, yeah, I've got cameras, that's great. Well, when someone forces a door open, was I able to pop up a camera on the specific person's desktop, arm all my intrusion zones, and notify the police, and nobody saw any of that happen? That's a pretty neat trick, because now I've taken video access and intrusion, and even though I'm one manufacturer, I make them all so they all talk together. They're made that way. These two bubbles up here, I think, represent probably a really unique perspective. So, from the IT side of the house, those third-party data sources we spoke about, we have what's called a DTU built into ProWatch, and that's just data transfer utility. I can reach out, pull those components in live, and I can share those things in a retroactive perspective. So I can go back and say, all right, I've done a bunch of stuff, I've collected a bunch of documents, now I'm going to start shoving backwards downstream to all those systems. Why do I want to duplicate a bunch of entry? The Honeywell Software Developers Kit, or physical integration over here, The radar component you see at the top is actually our Vindicator solution, and that's perimeter detection. How many people are in maybe a hard target business? Is anybody here from the FedGov space? Okay. So if you need perimeter detection, we have that integrated through our HSDK directly into ProWatch. So my perimeter detection with the radar array that reaches out and it directs cameras and directs door lockdowns and it's fence shaking and the whole 9 yards. We work with the United States government in a number of different locations, especially on the military side. U.S. Air Force is probably our single biggest user. And we pull that information in directly into ProWatch. We can manage it, parse it, pop up VMS, set off other internal controls as well, based on somebody just shaking a fence a mile away from the main building. That's a pretty neat trick. And then secondary fire. If somebody pulls a smoke, somebody pulls an alarm handle, or you have a smoke point that detects smoke, we can actually set off controls, maybe have the doors fly open, have the cameras spin around and zoom in on the specific points where those smoke detectors are located. We've got integration through several of our different fire products. Honeywell also owns 4 different fire platforms. Any questions on this? This is a lot of stuff, and I'm going through it pretty quick just because of our time limitations. I don't want to bore anybody to death, but this is probably one of the more important slides I'm going to show here. And the main reason why is because this is all the stuff that you have that's made by a bunch of different people that don't really talk to each other. How many people are in that boat right now? They own products just like this, but nothing speaks to each other. Well, how many people think that's probably a really good idea to have it speak to each other, right? Real simple. So even if you're just buying one piece at a time, make sure you know who you're buying and what it's supposed to do. Even if the next project to put in the access or the video or the intrusion is a year down the road, forward think and game plan it. Next slide. Let's see. Actually, let me. Let's see if we can do this here. There we go. All right. So I'm going to skip a couple of slides here. So what we're showing here is a little bit of a hardware outlay of what it looks like to have a ProWatch and MaxPro VMS and intrusion-based integration. What we mean by this is real simple. Everything that attaches to your network should be able to feed each other. So we have everything in our world IP-enabled so that we can program it, put it in, and press the alarms back and forth between the different packages. So if I have an intrusion detection in one place, I want it to set off a master lockdown in ProWatch and throw cameras up on a screen somewhere else. This just gives you a little bit of a hardware outlay on that. How many people have existing components in analog video? Probably a whole bunch of people, right? There's a ton of the analog video stuff out there. Probably want to begin thinking about replacements on that stuff. Reason why I say that is because as the next age out, you're not going to replace it with analog. What are you going to put in? IP, absolutely. We're going to do IP. You can use encoders, but all you're doing is taking the same crappy, low-grade analog picture and just encoding it. It will not enhance it. I want to be clear about that. Begin thinking about, though, what the impact to your network is going to be. How many people have had, I don't know, a security department run out and buy some IP cameras and, gosh, and just throw them on your network and just go right on? Yeah, exactly. Next thing you know, you're running around trying to figure out who pulled the plug out of the bathtub because it's just taking your bandwidth and just taking it straight to the floor. Well, you need to stay away from that, but the only way to do that is with engagement. But I'm showing you this map because all this stuff, how many people are network administrators? Okay, yeah, goodly number, right? How many people think this would be a bad thing if tomorrow somebody went out and did this without your permission? Spend $1 million. Yeah, probably a pretty bad idea, right? Right. I'm showing you this because if you're not engaged with the security department, they're engaging someone without you. Go meet with them, okay? All right, where are we at time-wise? We're good? Okay. All right. Up till 3? Okay. All right. Let's do a couple of other things here. There we go. All right. So I'm bringing up something that has also become a real hot button topic. IP cameras. Everybody expects an IP camera to work with anybody else's recorder and vice versa, right? You buy that, we have open standards on those things, right? IP video's had it for quite a while. Access control has finally gotten engaged. And I'm showing you this because open panels are pretty much the way the future is going to go. Because if I put in a particular access control panel and I want to switch software, let's just say tomorrow, just for the sake of argument, the Honeywell headquarters gets hit by a meteor and there's a giant hole in New Jersey where our headquarters is at. All of a sudden, we got to figure out who's going to support our stuff because Honeywell's no longer there. They're blown off the map. How do I make that happen, right? So open standards, the company that actually manufactures the majority of the panels in the industry is a company called Mercury. And recently they released what is known as the Mercury Open Hardware Standard. And what that does for you is it allows you to switch manufacturers from one to the next without having to swap your panels. What's the one thing that you will not be able to get along without? The desktop software. You got to have that, and that's going to be individual one to the next. That's what separates each one of the manufacturers. However, we should be able to do what? Save your database. It's going to be in SQL or Oracle or Access or some variety of ODBC compliant database. And then we're going to be able to save your panels. The only thing you'll have to do is replace the software. All right? I bring this up and show you for a reason because this list will just simply continue to grow as time goes by. How many people are probably using a closed-end access control system that nobody else could take over? Yeah. How many people have actually looked into having it done and found out they were dead-ended, right? So the question you have to ask yourself is this. Going all the way back to the very first slide where I threw up that ROI thing, why in the world would we keep buying stuff that's proprietary? Just no reason to do it. I mean, taking the Honeywell hat off a minute, if I'm just the buyer, why would I buy something that's closed-ended in this day and age when I have open platform stuff available to me? You wouldn't, would you? Just makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense at all.
Let's see if we can get.
Well, I'm not getting comms. Nothing at all. Nope. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Okay. Of course. What I wanted to do is just give you a quick snapshot of what it looks like when I say true integration. So when I look at the list over here, I've pulled up ProWatch here on the left, and this would be just the administrator's interface. Don't anybody get excited. This is not what you would look at every single day. This is for administrators, but just for our purposes here, I want to show you where these alarms actually originate. So if you own all these things already, you know you want to consolidate. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pick a door forced open. Go ahead to that second one, the DFO event, and just double click it. And you'll notice here on the right, my VMS is actually responding, and I'm going to reach out and I'm going to pull in cameras from our Las Vegas office. Hopefully we've got enough connectivity we can do this. Come on. It's going to go to full screen. There we go. Nice. What I've done is I've actually told the VMS package, if I receive this alarm, door forced open, I want my video, wherever this particular operator is located, to go to full screen. I want you to surround the camera that is involved in the original alarm with the, there you go, and then grab the top right, drag it, and it resurrounds itself. These are the 12 most closely geographically located cameras. This is just called surrounding cameras. This is actually a patent that we have. We've got about 7 international and US patents on MaxPro VMS for the way that we do this particular operation. Now, having said that, this is pretty neat if I'm responsive. How many people have a monitoring center or security force that monitors these systems for them? Everybody? Half of everybody? Okay, so probably 30% to half of everybody. Some people are what? Purely reactionary. Something bad happens, please go look at this. So the good news is, if you have good video coverage and you have the enough cameras and you've got the integration, I can go find my door forced open event, I can pull up the camera that's attached to that, hit surrounding cameras in VMS, and boom, there come all my cameras. I don't have to go look for the events, they're all time integrated, right? Now, here's the cool part. I can do this in playback. Doesn't have to be live. I can do this very same thing in playback. I can timestamp these guys, I can go in, and I can actually stamp them out from a 24-hour period off of one camera all the way down to 1 second. And that car in the parking lot last Tuesday, well, it's now this Thursday, right? 9 days later, and they want you to find that car in the parking lot that got there at 1 a.m. and left at 7 a.m. How many times have you ever had a request like that? If you haven't, ask your security folks. I promise you they have had that request. Yeah, go find that real quick. We've reduced that down to a matter of quite literally seconds to minutes, based on how heavy your traffic is in the picture, of course, right? As long as I have an originating point. So the whole point of the exercise is this. These things are wonderful, but you have to know how to program them out. This is not going to happen. General alarm integrators and so forth are not going to have the ability to put this stuff in. This is very IT-centric. It is very software-driven. I do want to, anybody in here a programmer? Anybody do coding? Surely somebody is, right? I'm going to show you one quick piece. Go to Configurator and go right here to System Macros. I'm not going to go through every bit of this. This is just please don't get scared. I want to show you, go ahead and scroll down here to the DFO. I want to show you how this happens. I'm not showing you this because I think you should go learn how to code, or you have to know how to code to buy one of these and put it in and make it effective for you. You don't. You don't. That's what your dealer's for. That's why your skilled dealer is sitting right here to take care of this stuff, right? But here's something you do need to know. You need to know what it is you're actually after. You have to know that I want this camera to go to full screen when this door gets forced open and I want it to arm all of my perimeter intrusion zones. You do have to know what you want it to do. I'm showing you this because this is that coding that says, get this monitor, this camera, surround it, send it to this person, delay the playback, you get the idea. This is that coding. This is our back end. How many products have you bought that you actually said, gosh, if I could just make it do this, that'd just be great. But you can't. And the company says, well, sure, I'll be glad to do it for you. It'd be $50,000. Well, gosh, I only spent $10,000 on the whole thing. Why? I mean, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. What's a code line change? Our answer to that question is, okay, how do you want it to look? What do you want it to be? Work with your dealer, get it installed, get the code written, test it, and put it down here. Chances are if you want to do it, someone else has already wanted to do it before. Again, I'm not showing any of this to confuse anybody. I want you to see the guts though, because this, going back to that very first slide, this is your ROI. So when you say to yourself, well, gosh, what did I get for that? The answer is, we're not sure yet. It's going to come when the next person comes to me and says, you know, gosh, Chris, I've got this terrible problem and I really need something specific to happen here. And you go, you know what, I can do that. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I can do that because I have what? Flexibility. I have access to the back end. Here's my code. You can see it right here. Questions? Thoughts? Pretty cool, right? Okay. When you're measuring these things out, I would encourage you to begin measuring them in that way. How can I customize it? Don't go through a checkbox of features that says, well, okay, now they got playback and they got, okay, well, great, you're low bid, let's go. No, that's not going to get it done in this day and age because the first time someone asks for something special and you go, if I'd have spent $10 more, I could have done that. All right. Okay, go ahead and downsize that. And downsize that guy. All right, go up, open advanced badging, up the top. There you go. So We'll skip around here a little bit. There you go, that's fine. So advanced badging is a module within ProWatch. How many people spend a lot of their time looking at what other people are doing? Right, exactly. Why the frown? So what I want to do is have the ability to collect up data from lots of different sources, bring it together, and show it to you in the parts and pieces you need and are allowed to have access to. So under that, we've organized this up like a set of file folders, if you will, with employee data. And this is just what comes out of our conceptualization. You can make these tabs anything you want. It's totally customizable. Go ahead and just go down to vehicles. No, on the tabs. Oh, you don't have it. That's right. Yeah, go to Rob's vehicles. He's got cool stuff. Rob's the head of our HIS channel, so I know he's got plenty of vehicles. There we go. Yeah, I wish I had his job. So how many people collect this kind of information on their employees? How many people know who's coming and going from their gates? Wouldn't you like to know if Bob's car is leaving and Bob's not in it? Well, wait a minute, you're not Bob. Why are you wearing a ski mask, right? Why is that? Well, if I have that information and maybe I've got a vehicle tag, a vehicle transponder associated with Bob's badge, and as he's leaving, you require that readout. Guess what? I measured that against the transponder, and guess what? That wasn't Bob driving. That's not Bob's badge. How many people have had a carjacking in their parking lot? Okay. How many people think they're going to have a carjacking in their parking lot? You don't know. That's the trick. That's the trick. That's the whole thing about mitigating security risk, right? Go ahead and OSHA CFRs, next tab. How many people have OSHA certifications in their business? Come on, I saw steel out there. I mean, you guys work with chainsaws and you don't have OSHA? Come on, right? So how would you like to know, by sharing with HR these certifications, how would you like to be fed this information when someone's certificate's getting ready to expire? Or maybe you're a law enforcement agency and you're getting ready your pepper spray certification or your handgun certification is up once again this year. How would you like to get an email in your inbox knowing that once again, poor Bob is in violation, it's getting ready to expire? Again, compilation of factors. These are things I want to know from a safety and security standpoint. Maybe I want to pull up and, Bob's kind of funny. You just had a forklift accident in our warehouse, but gosh, it says here you're not certified to operate forklifts because you have vertigo. Wow, that's pretty amazing, right? Documents. We have one of our customers that actually scans 26 documents when they enroll somebody. 26. You know what the funny part was? It was the same 26 documents that Human Resources scanned. And we want to do what with that? Well, why don't we share? Why don't we share? So that's exactly what has been done here, is I'm bringing forth these images and I'm actually storing them. I'm doing a two-way data share with the Human Resources SQL database. Pick your favorite version, whatever your Human Resources database is. Chances are it's ODBC compliant. Take a look at, in fact, skip down to eDocs. There you go. And go to the background check. There you go. If I'm a security manager, why would I want access to something like that? I've got an investigation going on. How would I like to roll up a report that includes the video clip of Bob crashing the forklift plus